Comic books and books. A slow news week all over the place means comic books is really suffering. We have Ernest, like, hey Vern, that Ernest, he's getting a new comic book. We're going to talk about that and then make a suggestion, and that's going to be about it. Hello, nerds, and welcome to this week's episode of The News as it pertains to comic books and books. No discussion of current storylines, story arcs, or any of those kind of details is going to happen here per se. I am, after all, a one-man organization and can't read every book that comes out and report on it and any of the news therein. But we can talk about new announcements and major changes as they pertain to any of the publishers that we follow, or just generally nerdy literary information in that sense. So let's get into all of that, shall we? And also, if you dig what's going on here, there is a much more up-to-date and possibly relevant, because it takes a second to get these sections posted up, so probably much more up-to-date version of the news in long form I like to call The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, which you can find linked in the description as well as at the end of this video. That show covers many more points of interest in the nerd community, in the pop culture community at large, and so definitely go check that out. Now let's get into all of those literary notes, shall we? We go from short to shorter with comic books and books this week. The gaming and tech section was rather short. Comic books is even shorter. We have a new Ernest comic book that dropped a trailer. So, you know, it's a trailer. It's not a follow-up. It's not regular-ass news, technically. It is a trailer for Ernest P. Worrell is back for his first adventure since 1998. This franchise is so old. Why is this randomly obscure character from the 90s getting a new IP? I don't understand it. A new graphic novel called Ernest and the Dreamstone. The story is a spooky comedy. It is being co-funded on Kickstarter. So starting September 17th is when the Kickstarter opened. Will run through October 17th is when it closes. It will be written by Corey Perkins, illustrated by M.R.F. Rusanto, and colors by Miriam Yasser. Project has been in development for a couple years and is being developed with the franchise's rights holder. So this is not some sort of fan fiction or anything. This is being officially sanctioned by the people who own the rights for the IP, which is pretty cool. That's all we got. That's the only piece of news for comic books. Let's talk about a suggestion this week. This is one I honestly am kind of surprised I haven't suggested it yet, especially considering the popularity. I don't know, I guess it makes a little bit of sense now, what with Deadpool and Wolverine being a thing, but Wolverine Origins. Start with Volume 1. Wolverine Origins this gives you the basis for the character and the immediate surroundings that aren't exactly X-Men related. You get the X-Men in there as well, but the origin story kind of gives you all of the beefs, all of the enemies, and all of the big epicness that we now know as just everyday stuff for Logan. It goes into great, it doesn't necessarily originate in the Origins comic book, but it goes into the best detail. You get the best picture of what these things are. The thing that kind of brought me to this was I was looking for an Omega Red story, which the Omega Red stuff doesn't necessarily happen in the Origins story until you hit Volume 2, but you can't hit Volume 2 unless you've done Volume 1. So that's your suggestion this week. That's Wolverine Origins Volume 1. Writer on this one is Daniel Way. We have art from Steve Dillon. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.